Hey guys, today we're going to watch a video from Vice, the dark side of rich kids volunteering. Let's see.
Volunteerism is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It sells wealthier people access to
They couldn't get a creepier mask?
impoverished and
What is that?
struggling communities in exchange for a
What is that?
life-affirming experience. Kids would see vans of volunteers pulling towards them, and they'd quickly rub dirt on their faces so that they'd be more appealing, ironically, to the volunteers and look like they needed more help. Each of us paid thousands of dollars to go on this trip. Of that trip fee, almost none of it went to the orphanage. The primary goal, we were told, was to build a library. Our work was so bad that the local builders who were working alongside us would come back while we were sleeping and undo our work and redo it.
Yo, it's like they organized this just to feel better about themselves for being rich, I guess. I don't know. But why would you send your kids to volunteer to build something if they weren't going to put in their best effort? And they got to redo it. So now you're just taking work away from the workers and then adding double work to them, and they got to come in at night away from their families to help these rich kids feel better about themselves.
But they abused children in orphanages while under the guise of being a volunteer. What you're being sold is the idea that you'll help a community. What you're really buying is an opportunity to help yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's for you, not for them.
I've been
Like you said,
involved in
none of that money,
volunteerism for
like she said, none of that money goes to the actual orphanages. So this is all for them and their social status amongst themselves.
over a decade. The language used by volunteerism tends to be along the lines of you can change the world and find yourself all at the same time. I wanted to physically go out to be that change, make a difference, be a global citizen. I definitely was thinking about how it would look when I applied to college and how it would look on my
Exactly.
resume. I convinced my parents to pay a couple $1,000s for me to be able to go on this trip to Tanzania. It was about 3 weeks long. For $3,000, we would get to volunteer in an orphanage, teach some English lessons, play with some kids, go on a safari. I was entirely unqualified and unprepared and should not have been allowed to do this. You are going to be working with young children.
I mean, it's probably a good experience for the young kids to know that there's people out there who quote unquote care about them. But yeah, like they didn't have their best intentions. I mean, they're taking advantage of the situation for their resume and their college applications. I don't see that as very virtuous.
Who are extremely vulnerable. I came from an all-girls school where I had a walk-in closet, and I was pulling up to this all-girls orphanage where they shared bunk rooms without running water. The primary goal of our time at the orphanage was to build a library. We believed that we'd be able to build the whole thing while we were there until you realize that none of us had ever done any construction work. There was a general feeling that the local workmen were lazy at times because they were showing up late. One morning, I woke up and decided to go outside. I started walking up where we were building the library, and I saw that there were men working at the construction site. I realized that they were taking apart what we'd done and
So these kids are so egotistical, I guess, that they figured the guys were late because they're lazy. Meanwhile, they're late because they're gonna work all night to fix everything you guys did wrong, or didn't really end up doing it all well.
redoing it, and then they'd let it set. And by the time that we would show up to work in a few more hours, we'd be none the wiser. I told one of the chaperones from my school on the trip about what I'd seen and was advised to keep it to myself. You have stories of people donating.
So the chaperones know that everything they're doing is worthless, and it's just an exercise in in their egos. They're just exercising their egos. Why are we doing this?
Bags full of toys that the orphanage director
What is a college application or a resume? How does this influence anything? Like, I don't understand, man. It's like you're taking advantage of these poor people in these messed up situations in different countries just to feel better about yourself. And it doesn't translate to me how that works on on a college application, you know.
then goes and gives to his own kids or sells or locks in a closet so that the next group of volunteers will donate bags of toys. Because if they see kids playing with tons of toys, they won't bring toys. If they see kids sleeping on a good bed with a good mattress, they won't donate money for better beds and better mattresses. We did not eat our meals with the children in the orphanage. We ate separately, which was a rule at that orphanage. It was so we wouldn't know what they were eating. My typical breakfast at the orphanage.
So the kids have to either play a game to continue to act like they're struggling and not having any toys, and they have poor sleeping situations just for the orphanage to continue to receive things from these people, or they receive things from these people and the orphanage just never gives it to the kids.
Would include
I don't know which one's worse.
fresh fruit juice, hard-boiled eggs, toast, jams, butter. The children were most often having beans and rice that they cooked themselves. We also would help them sort the pebbles out of the beans. A number of times, the girls were expected to sing for us. The exchange for them having a really good meal was to sing and dance. We were a predominantly white group. When I was in Tanzania, a
Well,
young
that's not a
woman
surprise.
was questioning her sexuality and was being encouraged by this volunteer to live openly. The reality of this young woman's life was that she lived in a community where doing so would put her at very great physical danger. And so this volunteer was so focused on her own moral compass and moral values that she couldn't quite see how the advice she was giving this young woman could potentially kill her.
Yeah, in different parts of the world, like not everything that we think should be accepted is accepted, and it's actually dangerous for some people in parts of the world to be who you feel like you are. And that's a good part about living in the US or in Europe or something, that you can kind of get by being who you are without too much issue. But these people, they don't have a choice. And and like you said, like her own moral compass is here, and it might hurt these kids or the other lady that was working there.
The directors of the orphanage did not see the children's health as a priority. We were advised by other long-term volunteers at the orphanage that when residents did get malaria, despite there being money to pay for them to get medical care, they were not provided with medical care. The leadership of the orphanage were unwilling to spend the money. 80% of children who live at orphanages have not lost one or both parents. They are not orphans. They don't have birth certificates. They don't have IDs. No one knows who they are or where they are. These children are anonymous. The thing that really haunts me is the connection between orphanages and child sex trafficking. There are Brits, there are Americans, there are Australians who've been arrested, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for exploiting children.
Yeah, this kind of just boils over into it. You just taking advantage of children. Children grow up, and as they get older, they continue to be taken advantage of as the disadvantaged group of people that they are in these situations. So it just becomes worse for them, throughout their life. I mean, it's it's sad and sad to hear, and at least she's coming forward and being honest about her experience, because the people need to hear this for sure.
And abusing them sexually and physically while making money from people like me who wanted to do good. They abused children in orphanages while under the guise of being a volunteer. Voluntourism is continuing to grow as an industry. During the pandemic, the trip providers who are the most successful were actively marketing trips to Tanzania as an opportunity to escape COVID and pretend like it didn't exist. You can say that you are giving 100% of fees back to a community without doing that. You can say those things because no one's checking up on you. No one's verifying that this is happening. The reason why it continues to increase is that many of the experiences that are similar to what I had as a volunteer of having children running towards me and wanting to sit on my lap and wanting me to carry them are still so emotionally compelling. They're still so alluring. It feels so good that it's really easy for someone to apply exceptional.
Yeah, guys. So if you want to volunteer and help people out, maybe start in your communities, but definitely if you go this far out to do something and you see stuff like this, you need to do like this person's doing, and let it be known. You know, hiding your face is good because you got to protect yourself within your circle. But yeah, if you're a really like wealthy person and you see this stuff, maybe you can use your power to help these kids out a little bit better, because this is just a sad situation, like overall. Right. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.